Welcome to Super Happy Dragon Lucky. The show will begin momentarily.
But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win. We choose to go to the moon.
All right, welcome to Super Happy Dragon Lucky. This is episode beta 4, 0xb4. It is the 181st episode. And reminder, nothing on the show is financial advice. And stay tuned after the updates for an AMA. So first segment is on current events. And there's a lot going on, of course, but related to blockchain. The thing we have is that leaders are at Davos currently planning their next steps to take away your liberty. So that's the update there. Next, we have on Dragonchain updates, the Super Happy Dragon Lucky lot distribution from last week was 532 lot. There were 3 questions or topics for 66 lot each. There was 1 featured post, which will also receive 66 lot. The host receives 66 lot, and Dragonchain received 200 lot. Also for Dragonchain, we had a console and time update. We essentially looked at the new system after we migrated, and some of the prior issues that we had seen before, we decided to go ahead and do a full revamp. So we ported the code and essentially rebuilt it. It's a much more accurate in the small sense and much more scalable, efficient system than it was before. So we should be able to use it for a lot of other things as well that'll help us in other areas. But, look at the post. There were known differences in the time calculations because the old system, when we actually went through and analyzed everything, had several addresses that had a zero balance or a near zero balance that effectively were still showing time, even though there was none there. So those are all fixed. And some people might have seen a small increase or a small decrease, but relatively and proportionally, it is extremely small. And either way, the new system is more accurate, and that's a good thing. So, and the fact that it's a lot cheaper to run, and that it should be a lot cheaper to get metrics from it in the future is a really amazing thing. So very happy with the upgrade. Let us know if you have any issues. There were some known issues also with management of time with your nodes in the console. So we would recommend that everybody log into the console, double check that all the time that they want to apply is applied to whatever nodes you are running, either on the business side or the verification side, and that there were with one of the known issues, if you lost time, that you have a negative balance of time there, and that there's a known way to correct that. Anyway, that's all the details there. Another update, I was quoted in Cointelegraph recently. It was published, I think, last week. They just tweeted it out this morning. 15 ways that crypto companies can be more transparent with their customers. And so our response was, very Dragonchain specific, but very generic, because it's all about capabilities. Any blockchain could do this, depends if they structure their system around it. That effectively it's a very valuable thing that you can expose select data on the chain. You know, in the generic, like say the beauty of blockchain itself is that what happened at FTX that was on chain, because it wasn't all on chain because FTX was not actually a blockchain company, but the parts that were important were those actual coins, tokens, value that moved in and or out of the known account addresses, made it possible for people like CoffeeZilla and other investigators to see where funds actually went. And that's a very powerful thing. And imagine now if you say, okay, we can do that, you know, for one thing, for all customer data, something like a DEX would give you. But if you have a, you know, traditional company and you have identities or sensitive data attached to an account, the beauty is that you can selectively expose that to the actual owners of that info, the users, without exposing it to everyone else. It's a neat thing. It's all about logic puzzles, and that's what we excel at Dragonchain. That's why we were built. So anyway, that's the response. Okay, so now we go to Den.Social updates. So the January 2023 LCP results are in. So the winners were number one proposal as measured by unique voters with 3.9 million lore committed and 46 unique voters was Star Wars, proposed by Oxons in November of 2021. Congratulations, Oxons. Man, that was November of 2021. Wow. And the number 8 by lore committed with 842,000 lore and 33 unique voters was Selfie, proposed by Dragonlight XX in March of 2021. So again, very old proposal. That's awesome. And then the number 21 by lore committed with 498,000 lore and 30 unique voters was Quotes, proposed by Laksa in December of 2021. So 3 2021 proposals made it in. And I was hoping for the, as we spoke about on the DENDAO call, for the current thing to at least make it into one of the numbers, or to at least get 8 unique voters, because I'm going to pay its way in, but we can't do that until it gets 8, at least 8 unique voters. So if anybody watches the DENDAO call, you know, go in there and at least commit 1 lore if you can, so that we can get that created. But that'll be next month either way. So anyway, congrats to all those winners. There'll be 3 really good communities, and should be some good content generated in those. So thanks a bunch, and we'll announce, I believe, next week when they are created. Make sure you subscribe and all the rest of it. You have a week though to get in for the top. And I think there's a question in the AMA about it, to get in your, you know, if anybody wants any of the 5 runner-ups or anything with more than 8 unique voters. And I'll probably try to look at that too. Maybe we can look at that in the DENDAO call and see if there are any we want to make. Let's see here. Next, the post requesting proposals for the February 2023 LCP image. Make sure you post your original, it has to be original image that you've taken, you own, or whatever else, by Monday. Links in there. And then we go to Coffee with Den, which will air at 0900 Eastern, 0600 Pacific US time. Everyone who participates in the show will earn Coffee with Den lot. So make sure you go in there, watch that, and you know, ask questions or whatever else that they're wanting on that day. And then next, DENDAO updates. Join us for the weekly DENDAO call on Thursday, January 12th, this Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern US, 8 p.m. Universal Time Code, and watch for the post in the DENDAO layer for the agenda and a link to join live. Everyone, welcome to join. You don't even have to have your camera on. It's just a meeting. Next, we go to the World Blockchain Roundtable updates. So we had a new DAO governance issue for February theme. Sorry, it's not a governance issue next. We want the requests for the February theme as replies. I think there's one already in there, which is a good one, by next Monday. Essentially, when we run the selector, this will help us decide what all of the themes will be for next month, for February. So also watch and share last week's episode on blockchain-based parallel systems. The more views it gets the first week, the more lot all of the participants will get. And episode 86 will be on Thursday, January 19th at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central, U.S. time. The topic is blockchain in space. There's at least already one good question in there. Very cool question. Make sure you leave a question or subject to discuss to get lot for in the World Blockchain Roundtable DAO. Okay, so that's all the updates, and we'll do the AMA right after this.
Now, more than ever, our data is at risk. Our supply chains are in jeopardy. Our systems are broken, and businesses feel powerless. Dragonchain gives you a different way, a safer way, a better way, and you have power over your data. Dragonchain gives you proof in an untrusted world. Build now at Dragonchain.com, America's blockchain.
Okay, the AMA is on, so we refresh the screen. I'm doing it here locally also, so that I can read it well. All right, so first question or topic is Jacob Wayne. I have a question regarding the LCP. After the votes are tallied, you can purchase a layer in the user count category with a tiered cost by the runner-ups. And I think it's the first runner-up is 200 matter, the second runner-up is 400 matter, third 600, fourth 800, and the fifth runner-up is 1,000 matter, right? So my question is, let's say that all 5 runner-ups have exactly 30 users that have voted. Would this mean that each layer costs 200 to create, or is it that price by how they line up when you view the LCP tab? I guess my question is, what happens to the price if a couple of tiers tie? And you can see the same thing. Let's say that you have 3 ties for the third runner-up. So my thought, and this will have to be decided by a DENDAO vote. This is a great question, something that we didn't consider before. And by the way, it would be fairly likely, especially in the runner-ups, you can look at them now, that there might even be some in there right now, that it's very likely to tie because it's an integer value. It's the number of users. So this would be pretty likely, right? So right now, my assumption is that, if you guys came to us this month and we don't have a vote on it yet, that you would get it at that price for that tie. So let's say you had 2 runner-ups tied for the second place, that they would both pay 400 matter, right? So we are, though, going to put in, because of this question, I talked to the team before, we're going to put in a governance issue to decide this, but I think we should switch it out to say that if you want to essentially pay to have this created, okay, that you would go into the announcement post where the winners are announced and where it gives you the instructions for how to request a runner-up option, or the what I can't remember what we call it, but the option for 8 unique voters that is 2,500 matter. So in order to do it, you don't send a request in, you put a reply to that post saying, hey, I want to pay for this particular layer to be created. If 2 of you post at the same time, let's say, wanting the same layer created, then you would split the cost. The other thing is, if anybody could reply to your post and say, hey, you're going to pay for the second runner-up to be created at 400 matter, I'll split the cost with you, or I'll throw in the 50 matter that I have to do that as well. You don't get anything extra for it. So maybe we should even consider, maybe whoever the purchaser is, they can't get more lot, but maybe they get something out of it. Who knows? Maybe they get some more lore, whatever. But that's another matter. So I think we'll put in a governance issue to change the process to request the creation by these options, and that in that way we can say that the ordering would then be by whoever replies first. And the reason I want to do that is so that people don't dilly-dally around and sit on the fence about doing it. If you want to do it, you need to do it quickly because it's going to be cheaper if it's a tied score for the unique users. So essentially, because those replies will be on chain, we can prove the ordering. So if there's a tie and you want it, even if there's not a tie, you'll need to reply in the post. I don't know if we'll edit the post this month or not, but I guess not, because we're flying by the old rules this month. So if there is a tie, and there might well be, we'd have to look. You'll get it in at the lowest price for that that count. So anyway, great, excellent question. Leads to a DENDAO governance issue is perfect. So we'll link the DENDAO governance issue to that as well. So, okay, next, IM4AM with a very long question and comment, but I'm going to read the whole thing because it's great. So the Jefferson quote also is amazing, that democracy is very dangerous. That's why they in the United States set up a republic, that there was an attempt at trying to fix the issues with democracy. So it's an open question whether it worked, right? Question foundation. Predictive markets with numerous user inputs have proven to be accurate. Like say, particularly, I'm going to comment in between some of these, particularly if it is a market or a prediction market in particular. Pure democracies, though, have proven to fall into an unfair mob rule form of government. I think that's an absolute. You look at ancient Greece, some very bad things happened through democracy. DEN, obviously, is more of a behavior incentive system on a social media platform where quality content via evaluation by its community is sorted and ranked through a reward system. And I would say that it is the reference implementation of behavior marketplace AI. And that's just something that we have named it, but it's essentially AI through better, more efficient means using a prediction market with humans, although you could apply other AI or other inputs other than humans if you want to, generically, not DEN. So question, when DEN reaches a higher adoption rate, say 100,000 plus active users, will it fall into a mob rule social media site? Or will it function more like a predictive market as postings are evaluated and commented on? So the first thing I would have to ask to refine the question, we'll maybe try to explore both sides of it, would be, are you talking about DEN as itself, DENDAO? Are you talking about individual layers? Or are you talking about private layers that are less content focused and more community DAO focused? Or are you talking about the content itself? And so going backwards from that, I would say the content itself, although we will probably make adjustments, especially when we see more and more data. Like say, the more data we get, the more we can learn about how behaviors are incentivized or flipped, right? Do we have the ability to tie both penalties as well as rewards to affect certain behaviors? And it so far is working extremely well. And we've had known holes, and it's an interesting thing that those known holes end up being value leaks on DEN, on the mining, and that we can look at how that value is leaked and prioritize which things to hit first with limited resources, right? The second would be for DAO focused. That's a particular one you have to be careful about, because if you come in with let's say a traditional DAO where I have a stake, I have a vote, that can, depending on how you model it, be a pure democracy, and it might well fall into those issues. We tend to try to focus when a business comes to us, we tend to try to communicate to them how they can measure and interpret what their business goals are. When you say business, what their goals are essentially as an organization, which it might be related to an NFT, like we've seen in some. It might be related to more financial matters, and tune that to the DAO itself. So we would essentially integrate different input metrics so that their votes can be more attuned to how they want weighted governance to work, right? And hopefully, it's not always, but hopefully those things can be directly applicable to user actions, not just things that I own. Like say straight NFTs are less valuable than saying NFTs and that you are doing this thing with the NFTs. That's really valuable, right? So that whole thing, and the beauty is they can actually start simple and then advance further and further. If you're talking about a layer, a community layer, those are staking focused, and we at least have one active thought proposal to make an adjustment to the way that the held lot is rewarded in mining. That is essentially to say, just holding the lot doesn't get you any mining. You have to hold the lot and do these measurable behaviors. So you have to, for example, none of these are set, but voting energy in the layer would be directly proportional to your, and in competition with others holding lot for that layer, would be directly affecting the amount of matter that you generate from activity in the layer. So it incentivizes you to prioritize your energy use to the layers that you hold something in order to directly reward you for developing, building, and engaging in that community, and causing other engagement. And also, say, tipping people with lot in that community that are essentially engaging in the community at a greater proportion than their ownership, right? So the people who are engaging more, even though they own less of the community, will actually see more rewards and results. So super powerful, that one switch. And I want to get that in bad. We're just talking about a couple of implementation sides, whether we want to refactor some data or whether we want to hack our way around it. So we'll see in time. And then the last one would be, DENDAO itself. And I think, and although it is very flexible, it could be changed, but DENDAO itself is heavily weighted to avoid this very issue, that the actual contributors by either ownership in communities, development of communities, and the measurable results of those communities, as well as the content creators, could effectively overrule the founders themselves. So the people of us that put time and money into this before it was even started have a founding element. And, we have a vote too. But the interesting thing there is that coalitions will have to be formed. And for instance, the liquidity of those tokens could be, because it is separated into the two votes for creators and owners, and outside of the founder vote, that those two could develop a coalition of the token side with part of the creators to effectively flip votes. And it's super interesting because it's set up to directly let people compete for the behaviors, which spread the whole spectrum. So neat stuff. So I think DENDAO is very safe from it. And we're talking to a couple communities about setting up DAOs on Den. And one that I'm particularly interested in has a phased approach where there is a founding vote, which has some particular importance, but then as certain of the other elements are introduced into their ecosystem, that they will add new votes corresponding to those behaviors and those activities and tokens and everything else. So some really cool stuff coming the same way, but at least somewhat modeled on how we're doing it with DENDAO, even though the behaviors are totally different. So it just seems like a very good model that is already well tested. And yeah, I'd love to see it with a tremendous number of voters, because I think, frankly, a lot of the people who use DEN don't know that they can directly, they have a vote, even if they've never put any money in, but they're doing the things, they're coming in, providing content, they're coming in, participating in the LCP, that they have a good proportion of the vote, and it's in competition with others. But the more people we can get voting in that, the better, right? Let's see here. Last question, I think. Oh, wait, this is a comment. So Jacob Wayne already had the first question. Amazing question. So this is a comment, but thank you for featuring my Sandbox article on the last episode. Always exciting to see, and I spent a lot of time on it, so I really appreciate the shout out. And by the way, that's why we wanted to feature it, and we opened it up to not just Dragonchain specific or Den specific posts or content, because essentially we're going to start featuring anything that is significantly deep content, or that obviously someone, as you had, is very obvious you put a lot of time into that content. So like, man, we should be rewarding that. So thanks for putting the content in. And you say I actually screen recorded making the post with minimal HTML. So I'll post that video soon too, part of my Using Den video series. Love it. Make sure we know it, because I always want to put as much energy as possible into that, and or boost those posts and everything else. So I'll probably come back later this weekend with a question, but just wanted to say thank you for now. So yeah, you got the other question there. You got the reward for that, but only 2 questions that will be rewarded. And let's see, now we have featured content, which is from Kratos Boy again, Dragonchain and how it could change the healthcare sector. This is a great post based upon public info. So thank you for putting this together. Healthcare industry is known for complex and bureaucratic nature. It's also an industry deals with very sensitive personal information, probably not controlled or protected as well as it should be. I think it's increasingly becoming very obvious. So security and privacy are critical concerns, and doing that stuff right is already possible. And blockchain tech, in particular Dragonchain, is notably important for that. And we've had at least a couple of high value demonstrations that we were able to put together very quickly that did things that nobody else could do. IBM couldn't do it. None of the big tech sector companies that were working on the COVID stuff could do it without getting a waiver to not follow HIPAA laws in the U.S. And a couple of places elsewhere as well for privacy. We were able to do it with full compliance to HIPAA and with proof that whatever was necessary by the local guidelines or rules had happened. So it was an amazing system that was SafePass. But go through and read this, because this post is great. And the architecture is key, that you look at it structurally, what you can do with a blockchain, and what you can do in particular with Dragonchain. It's a notable improvement to your traditional blockchain. So get in there and read that post. Vote it up. I voted it up significantly in energy. So it's doing well. It's 11.3 thousand energy. So let's see here. And we have one question in the comments. Any future plans for time utilization, from Scott Schroeder? We have a lot of plans. There are some questions as to what we will be able to put in place. And some of those things are even related to, legal, what we want to take risk with in the middle of the whole SEC case. So there's a lot going on, and there are significant possibilities. We have some things that we would love to do that would help the ecosystem tremendously, but we just have to be careful, and we don't want to make any missteps, don't want to confuse anything any further than it would be. But time is an extremely powerful measure, and very, very unique in the world. I'm surprised more people haven't copied it, but they copy everything else we do. So it's a great question, and we'll hopefully we'll do something soon that would add more things to it. For one thing, even adding it to Den, because we already have that planned and approved. We just have to plug it in, and we haven't had time to do it. The new time system might help with that as well, right? That was one of the things that that was a reason that we haven't put that in place yet, is that the old time system was, number one, too flaky to do something like that with occasionally, and not wholly, but like on certain addresses, sometimes things would happen that shouldn't have, right? That's fixed now. So anyway, that should be easier to do now, either way. So, okay, that's the end of all the AMA. So next we go to merch, and we say mugs this month with coupon code Dragonchain-mugs. You get 10% off any mug in the store. Go to Dragonchain.Store and buy some cool stuff. There's a lot more cool stuff in there as well. And in closing, make sure you watch us again next week, next Tuesday, same time, 11 a.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Universal Time Code. Make sure you also watch the Roundtable, World Blockchain Roundtable DAO, Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. UTC. So, it's the first show where you get to control the format, the segments, how we do things, how we do anything. So I'm surprised no one's asked for something silly yet, because it'd probably pass. Also, make sure you follow Dragonchain, Real Denizens, and Jojo Rowe on Twitter and LinkedIn, and also absolutely on Den. I'm Joe on Den, though. And make sure you like, comment, and share this episode so that people see it. And that's everything. See you next week.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best.
Adaptable, raw capital, label radical yet rational. A tactical approach is palpable if this animal is fallible, but that conclusion is laughable. So with for all detachable from the mandible, you see it now.